When the merger between Daimler and Chrysler was first conceived, it was called a match made in heaven. It was a combining of forces that was supposed to take the automobile industry by storm and would in turn offer customers the best of luxury and affordable cars under one company name. However, why is it that a simple Google search of Daimler Chrysler produces such results that have the words failed merger and merger problems? Why is it that just 8 short years after the merger became final that this match made in heaven resulted in a divorce made in hell? To understand the organizational culture clash that Daimler and Chrysler face during the times of their merger, we must first step back and look how these two distinct companies shaped their cultures. In 1886, Gottlieb Daimler was faced with the unique challenge of revolutionizing the current forms of transportation, which at that time were horses and wagon. Daimler's original focus was on the quality of the automobile, as shown through German engineering. To prove this to weary customers, he coined the motto, "The best of the good, the best or nothing." By the mid-1990s, the Daimler-Benz name and symbol were synonymous with wealth, luxury, and quality performance. Daimler-Benz was able to achieve this mainly in part because of their highly renowned research and development teams. As outlined in their 1996 10K, they spent a whopping $8.8 billion on research and development alone. Chrysler had a relatively more humble upbringing than that of Daimler. From a young age, Walter Chrysler was fascinated with machinery and engineering. While working at Buick, he designed a cost analysis in which he documented the cost for every part of the car. However, during the 1920s, Walter Chrysler saw an opportunity to take his talents elsewhere, and on June 6, 1925, Chrysler Motor Company was born. Early on, it was Chrysler's mission to provide the American people with well-engineered, advanced, and affordable cars. The 1970s proved to be a turning point for Chrysler, mainly because of the gas crisis, which led to a government bailout. Hope for Chrysler came in the form of former Ford President Lee Iacocca, whom many say saved the Chrysler Motor Company. Mr. Iacocca's first order of business included massive layoffs and the selling of Chrysler's underperforming European division. He was trying to bring Chrysler back to a more simple structure. Iacocca instituted a cross-functional method of production rather than the traditional silo method, which would allow him to produce more cars efficiently and with less human capital. This helped Chrysler cut costs drastically and made Chrysler employees more valued and skilled. Changing market forces had strong effects on the direction Daimler and Chrysler needed to take in order to remain successful in their industry. In particular, the movement toward the maturity stage of the automotive industry was forcing automakers to consolidate. As a result, the industry was being populated by fewer but larger automakers. Both Daimler and Chrysler were becoming smaller relative to other automakers in the industry, and were becoming disadvantaged by not being as large due to economies of scale. For Chrysler, their strategy was expanding back into Europe after having pulled out of the region when it was in financial distress during the 1980s. Expanding into Europe for growth purposes would be risky and expensive. It would be far easier to find a partner to help achieve this. Additionally, the small size of Chrysler made the company easy for a large firm or organization to buy them out. An attempted leverage buyout by its largest shareholder, Kirk Currian, provided more impetus for Chrysler's management to do something in order to avoid such a buyout. Daimler-Benz was seeking growth in the U.S. market, and the company was looking to gain increased market share. Daimler only maintained 1% of the market share and ranked 15th among automakers. Adding to this problem, Daimler had much higher costs by requiring twice as many workers in production relative to competitors, therefore lowering profitability. Leaders at Daimler knew that in order to succeed in the automotive industry, they would need to find economies of scale. Economies of scale would help both the organizations by sharing parts and mass producing them, thereby decreasing costs for both firms. Higher quality parts and engineering would make the cars produced by Chrysler more reliable and desirable, increasing the buyer's willingness to pay. Daimler would gain the marketing, distribution, and production networks that Chrysler had in North America. Likewise, Chrysler would gain the same from Daimler in Europe. On May 7, 1998, CEO of Chrysler Bob Eaton announced that Chrysler would merge with Daimler-Benz. Eaton predicted that within 5 years the new company would be among the big 3 automotive companies in the world. The CEO of Daimler-Benz, Jürgen Schrimp, also had a very positive outlook for the union, calling it a merger of equals, growth, and unprecedented strength. The market cap for the merging companies was predicted to be close to $100 billion. Between 1998 and 2007, the newly formed Daimler-Chrysler experienced many ups and downs. The early years looked promising, however, and in 1998 they were able to post revenues of $138 billion and sold 4.4 million cars. In 1999, the first full year of operation, Daimler-Chrysler was able to continue this success and increase revenues by 12%. Jurgen Schrimp wanted to capitalize on the strength of both Daimler and Chrysler. That is why he had Daimler continue to make luxury Mercedes and Chrysler make mass-market cars and trucks. In 2000, sales were sharply dropping and Chrysler's presence was starting to dwindle. Chrysler's president was replaced by Dieter Zitsch from Germany. In addition, there were two other Chrysler executives that were fired. There were only 128,000 U.S. Chrysler employees left by the end of 2000. This began Daimler's dominance of the company. With these muddled circumstances, as well as competition, Daimler-Chrysler experienced third-quarter losses of $512 million, and its share value slipped from a high of $108 to just below $40. Their lack of innovation to come up with new ideas to respond to their attacked market share contributed to their decline in sales. By 2001, Daimler-Chrysler's market cap went to $44 million, which was below Daimler-Benz's market cap prior to the merger. In 2006, a year after Zitsch replaced Schrimp, Daimler-Chrysler looked to restructure the Chrysler portion of the company because they had an operating loss of $1.5 billion in that year. 5 years later, plans of cutting 13,000 jobs and 400,000 cars were continuously talked about. February 2007, Zitsch was reported saying the company is looking into further strategic options with partners, aimed at finding the best solution for both the Chrysler Group and Daimler-Chrysler. On May 14, 2007, Chrysler was sold to Cerberus Capital Management for $7.4 billion. By looking at the events that occurred during Daimler-Chrysler's merger and the failure of their strategic goals, it is clear that the reason was a clash of their cultures. How a business is run on a day-to-day basis and how they deal with problems they are faced with relate directly with their culture. As stated earlier, Daimler valued precision, reliability, and quality performance. They operate in a more formal and structured management with an emphasis on high authority and strong hierarchy. Their bureaucratic sense of organization tended to make the decision process an extensive one. Chrysler, on the other hand, strongly valued efficiency, process innovation, and affordability. Their American style had them operating in a relaxed, flexible atmosphere. Teamwork was encouraged at Chrysler, and they even worked in cross-functional teams. Specific examples that would depict how Daimler imposed their values and beliefs, which is the basis of their culture, on Chrysler would include a taped deposition from Daimler-Chrysler's supervisory board chairman. In 2000, Hilmar Koper said that when Chrysler's results began sinking like a stone, there was no good American management talent at the company to replace executives who left. This shows that the management in Germany was trying to change the way things were being run at Chrysler. The new management had differing ideals and beliefs gained from working at Daimler, and they were at odds with what was present in the culture of Chrysler. Another example to enforce this idea would be a comment quoted by Steve Harris, Chrysler's former communications chief. He said, "The Germans played literally by the book, theirs. You'd go into a meeting and have to turn to Volume 7, Section 42, page 597. Chrysler would try to be creative to find new ideas and solve problems. The management from Daimler wanted to do a research analysis. They wanted to use the solutions that worked for Daimler in the past, but by doing so, they would have to replace the existing solutions that Chrysler had been using successfully in their past. By doing this, Chrysler was not able to continue to be successful now that the company was forced to operate so differently." Lastly, in a 2000 article from The Globalist, when asked about subsequent brain drain from Chrysler, Jurgen Schrimp replied, "Someone asked me whether, if I could turn things back, is there someone I would really have liked to keep? I mentioned one name just to be polite, but generally speaking, I'm very happy the way it went." This shows how poorly the management at Daimler viewed the human capital at Chrysler. Statements such as these were very harmful to the morale at Chrysler and made them further question the interests of new leadership. This type of statement might be fine for a company like Daimler, which does not value individuals as heavily. This was shown through their strict pay structure. However, individuals were highly valued at Chrysler, and those who contributed more were compensated for it. The new management was being ignorant of these differences in such statements and only worsened the situation by not understanding these differences and making these statements. When making the decision to merge the two companies, Daimler and Chrysler hoped to achieve synergy, economies of scale, and to increase their profits. Over the 9 years that they were together, they did not accomplish any of these prospective goals because they were not willing to share their values and beliefs. The original intention was to have each company maintain their own separate cultures, but once Daimler started imposing their values and beliefs onto Chrysler, Chrysler's troubles only spiraled out of control. In terms of the automobile industry, sometimes opposites don't always attract.